So we also talked about a lot of these reasons why it's hard to set boundaries, both like, okay, my internal programming says I need to do this or I can't risk this. And so I think having people kind of recognize the reason setting boundaries is hard is not, okay, I'm just going to work these hours and like done. It's not a mindset thing, right? If it were that easy, I think we would all be doing it. It's important to remember there's some like real quote unquote like threats to our safety that are kind of simmering underneath the surface that we maybe aren't totally always aware of. And that's what leads to it being hard to say no to people, to shut off at a certain hour and be like, whatever emails that come in are not going to be that important that I need to check it, right? To like turn those things off in us when we've lived our whole lives, oftentimes being successful because of the thing that we're now trying to turn off. I think it's really important to note like it is hard and there's a reason, and we can kind of have some tools to check in with ourselves, even if it's just a pause, even if it's just a breath, even if it's just a, can I get back to you on that with your boss? But I'd love for you if you can share a little bit about like, as a yoga therapist, as a therapist, and doing a lot of body-based work yourself, whether it's professionally or in your own experience, what are some ways that people can check in on those things? Maybe ease the tension or even just notice them.
So I think for me, I've learned this through my own personal experience, and I have also now implemented it with the clients that I see in my somatic way of working as a therapist. And one practice that I believe would be really interesting for anyone to do is to check in with their relationship with yes and no. And what I mean by that is notice when you want to say no, for example, notice what's showing up in your body. Take a moment to just turn inward and notice like there's a lot of like energy flowing in your middle section. There's a lot of heat that's coming to the surface. Like, okay, I want to say no. My body is saying this. Notice like when you do say no out loud, like what's the tone of voice that you're using? What's the volume that it comes out? Sometimes when we're uncertain about no, we're like, no, like really, really timid. And just to kind of just tune in, like what's going on, and also play with that. So maybe you start to say no really loud, say it in different tones of voices, and just notice like what happens internally in your body when you start to shift the energy around no and what's going on. And I invite, everyone to do that with yes as well. Like, because it's also sometimes hard for people to say yes to things. And so just noticing like, what's your yes right now? What's your present moment experience of yes? How does that feel in your body? And what happens if you play with the different levers of yes around the tone of voice, the volume, like what's showing up when you start to like tune in and practice it with someone that you trust. Could be a friend, a family member. Just notice like what's it like to say yes or no and practice that with them. And what are you learning about yourself and your body? I just think there's so much curiosity that surfaces, at least for me when I do that. I learn a lot about some patterns that are in me, maybe from childhood, or how I've kind of been programmed to respond. So it just gives a person more information about themselves, which then you get to choose what to do with that.